News Panorama is a TV news magazine program that gives you the story behind the story.
It tells the stories the way they should be told by capturing the larger scale.
It deals with people's deep feelings on issues that, when brought to the fore, ultimately educates, informs and entertains.
News Panorama. Capture the larger scale.
It is no longer news that the Nigerian youths agitate for their rights, as it is said that they are grossly marginalized, particularly by the older generation. In the past, we had leaders who ruled at a young age, like Yakubu Gowon, who was head of state at age 28, with several ministers and governors in his cabinet then being within the age brackets of 27 and 35. The story seems to be different today as godfatherism has taken over. This week on News Panorama, we'll be joining the international community to celebrate youth across all facets of life. Welcome and thanks for joining me on the program News Panorama. I am Josephine Efanga.
News Panorama. Capture the larger scale.
If you have just tuned in, you are watching News Panorama. International Youth Day is commemorated every year on August 12, bringing youth issues to the attention of the international community and celebrating the potential of youth as partners in today's global society. The event aims to empower and inspire young people, reminding them of the profound impact they can have on the world. Blessing Ake expressed this year's International Youth Day celebration and its theme. The reports.
International Youth Day is an awareness day designated by the United Nations. The purpose of the day is to draw attention to a given set of cultural and legal issues surrounding the youth. Every year, August 12th is celebrated as International Youth Day, with the aim to draw worldwide focus towards various issues surrounding the youth. Awareness is raised on certain barriers pertaining to intergenerational solidarity, notable ageism, and other cultural and legal issues. Mr. Dan Obo is the chairman, Youth Council of Nigeria, Cross River State. He said each of the 18 local governments in the state will be celebrating this day at the various local government councils. Youth Day celebrations serve as a powerful reminder that young people possess potential that can shape a better Cross River and Nigeria as a whole.
Really for young Nigerians, right? And in Cross River State, we celebrate it too, alongside other youth across the world, because it's an international day for young people. To make sure the celebration goes across the local government. And so what we do is that we direct the local government leadership to celebrate the International Youth Week so that they can accommodate more young people in the course of the celebration.
Mr. Romans Ebube hinted that this day should be used to remind the youths to get involved in the affairs of the government.
Youthful can create apps or many things that can legally fetch money and contribute to the wealth of the state or whatsoever I get. I think the society, the government that make laws and that put things in order should try and make a policy that accommodate the youth.
As the world celebrates the youth, it is the desire of many that the youth synergize with the government and develop a well-planned out economy for themselves. Ake Blessing reporting, News Panorama.
In the longer term, it is essential that young people are engaged in political processes and have a say in formulating today and tomorrow's politics. For political system to be representative, all parts of the society must be included. When young people are disenfranchised from political processes, a significant portion of all the population has little or no voice or influence in decisions that affect the youth. To make a difference, in this report, Blessing Basi looks at youth participation in politics. The report.
Youth participation in politics is a very important component of any society that desires development. This is because social inclusion and youth involvement are considered to be two opposing concepts. It is usually emphasized that social inclusion policies cannot be successful unless they provide opportunities for youth participation. It should be noted that youth participation in political activities varies and differs. While some young people are willing and eager to participate, some others are deprived of support for participation or may not have adequate knowledge about how to participate. It is thought that making young people active in the social environment is a supportive factor, which will boost self-confidence and participation. In this way, youth should be encouraged to voluntarily engage in youth organizations and voluntary activities that will involve them in decisions and actions. The Chairman National Youth Council of Nigeria in Cross River State, Comrade Dan Obo, and Speaker Youth Parliament Cross River State, Right Honorable Victor Kejua, identifies barriers to effective youth participation in political activities as lack of engagement, generation conflict, patrimonial culture, and authoritarian leadership.
If any young man finds his way to the top, they will open opportunity for another young man. And as I speak with you, young Cross Riverians are going to the top. We are confident that better days are here. Politics is not a profession, right? Politics is not a profession. But everything is driven by, democratic processes. And so you find out that even when it's not a profession, right, you still need politicians to create the enabling environment for youth to go to school, for youth to learn skill, for youth to get a job, right?
Let me first of all say that the young people in politics, they are very essential in building a better future. And in the case of Cross River State, young people have really been involved in the past years in politics. So in this present administration of Senator Prince Bassi Edetutu, the governor of Cross River State, I know too well, and I'm sure that he has better plans for Cross River State youth. Youth should prepare themselves so that when the opportunity comes, they can grab it.
Some respondent, Afu Emmanuel, Prince Okam, amongst others, are of the opinion that constraints to youth participation are usually about age, economic situation, time, place, and not being ready. Among these factors reducing participation, the main ones are economic constraint, high unemployment, and food insecurity in any state.
Let me say connection. If you see that there are some youths that are very, very intellectually capacitated, but due to the fact that they are not being given opportunity in being a leader, they can't aim to achieve what they want to do. So these are some of the issues we have.
It's not all about talking about carrying youth into politics. How many of them are willing to join politics? So those that are interested in politics, they will show themselves when they are needed. And I believe when they show themselves, those who are up there should also take the opportunity, show them the needful to be done, and guide them.
In the global world, many evaluations are made on youth political participation by the nature of youth. Youth participation in politics is important because they constitute majority of the population groups and are considered to be future policy makers. Hence, they are among the population groups that need to be put to the forefront for each political authorities. A youth activist, Maurice Dumont, added lack of capacity building programs and poor planning on the part of leadership, absence of mechanisms for dialogue and engagement, including party conferences, and lack of financial resources and security as drawbacks in youth participation.
First off, we have a bill that states not too young to run bill, the act, I think. So that's one step in the right direction. And after that, I think they should reduce price of certain things like forms and all that. Participation, the challenge is, I feel godfatherism. You see someone wants to get into politics these days, they will ask you, who are you? Who is backing you? Who is supporting you? And they would want to hear one prominent name or the other. And outside that, finance.
Research has it that individual, cultural, and structural reasons influence youth political participation, while age, economic situation, time, place, and not being ready are among the factors affecting and constraining youth political participation.
Youth participation contributes to positive youth development, as research shows that young people who are supported to participate in decision making are more likely to have increased confidence and self-belief exercise positive career choices, and have a greater involvement and responsibility in the future. For CRBC News Panorama, Blessing Basi reports.
The importance of skill acquisition in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized, and for Nigeria to be economically self-reliant, we must necessarily diversify our economy as well as encourage youths to embrace self-employment through skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, self-reliance, and financial empowerment. Idong Stesian tells us more on youth involvement in skills acquisition in Nigeria. The report.
Skills acquisition is one of the important pillars that has helped many in actualizing their dreams and helped those who are not privileged to work either in public or private organizations. Acquisition of skills increases employment opportunities and reduces the rate of crime in the society. However, this year's International Youth Day, marked on the 12th of August, has the theme Green Skills for Youth Towards Sustainable World. The focus for this year is to raise awareness on the need for skills acquisition, especially amongst the youth. A successful transition towards a greener world will depend on the development of green skills in the society. Green skills are knowledge, ability, values, and attitudes needed to live in, develop, and support a sustainable, resourceful, and efficient society.
It's very necessary because nowadays, like the modern world now, it's very hard to even get help from anybody. So you don't have to depend on anybody. You have to get a skill to like be your boss or like your own boss. So I feel it's very necessary. Education now, school is not really paying. Imagine you have a poultry farm now and then you're selling out chicken, like let me say at the rate of 8,000 naira per day, and then you sell like 20 chickens in a day. Do you know how much is that? I think that one is even better.
Skill is important in every youth, apart from education. Education is the basic duty for the whole world. The skill is more important. You know, without handwork, we cannot scope. Even if you have, you are educated, you are working in the office, skills is important. Like sewing, you can also sew in your family, not until you sew for somebody to pay you. Like poetry, you can also train in order to use it in your family to reduce more expenses in the family. So skill is more important in
It is expected for youth to show greater interest in acquiring skills like shoemaking, fashion and design, baking, decorations, catering, and lots more. Youth interviewed noted that most of these skills can be veritable sources of meaningful livelihood.
Skill appreciation, like as the name implies, acquisition means to acquire. So basically what skill acquisition is about you learning a skill, acquiring a skill for yourself. I've acquired so many skills actually. I'm good at doing different things. Presently, I do jobs. So that was one of the skills I acquired, and it's actually very, very beneficial to me because it's giving me little money here and there.
Skill acquisition is a very paramount thing to talk about. It means acquiring a skill, and I find it very interesting because for me, I'm a stylist, and I can tell you I've gotten so much support from this stylist skill I have. You know, from time to time as a student, you would want, it's not everything you call your parents to do, and then from there you're able to like generate some backing
to help them find something to do instead of just sitting down idle. And I also advise that skill acquisition should be taught to students who are still in secondary school. In fact, right from primary school, you have something you can do, so that in times of needs, you will not have to do something for you to get money. Skill acquisition is actually very good for youth, especially for those who have graduated from school and are looking for jobs and are not finding any. If you have a skill, you have something to do, and you can also feed yourself and cater for yourself.
Taking Nigeria as a case study, one would notice that most of our young ones or the youth are potentially occupied with variety of skills in various areas of human endeavor. This range from culture to sport, engineering, science, and artwork, which all need to be developed with a view to strengthening their respective entrepreneurship prowess towards nation building. For News Panorama, I am Idong Stesian reporting. Substance abuse have over time become prevalent among youths in the society.
This abuse, which usually affects brain development and growth of the youth, oftentimes leads to risky behaviors and contribute to serious of health problems. Ifeanyi enlightens us on youth and drugs involvement in Nigeria. The report.
Drug abuse is substance abuse. It is the illegal use of substances such as club drugs, cocaine, heroin, etc. It is also the misusing of prescribed drugs or the misuse of over-the-counter medicines. Young people's brains grow and develop until when they are in their mid-20s. Taking drugs when one is young can interfere with developmental processes occurring in the brain. It can also affect their decision-making and make them more likely to do risky things. Report has it that the earlier a youth takes drugs, the greater his chances of continuing to use them and become addicted to them later in life. Recently, more young people have started taking tobacco and marijuana, an act that more often than not leads to death or terminal illnesses. Another recent trend in the abuse of drugs is the use of prescribed drugs in a different way that it is meant to be used. Taking drugs prescribed for someone else, using drugs for a different purpose such as getting high, and or taking larger dosages of drugs than prescribed. In separate interviews, some respondents opined that the use of drugs by youth is as a result of tension, frustration, the quest for better performance, trying to feel good or fit in, among others.
Frustration can make someone to start taking all those hard drugs to calm their temperature, or when they don't suffer, they don't see what to do, they end up taking drugs because they don't have other choice.
They feel that when they take it, they will be able to be bold, boldness, and some of them, because of a kind of trauma, some are from the kind of family they come from because of their parents. You understand? Yes. Most of us don't take it. The reason is because it causes damages to their health.
Others stated that these drugs are used based on the effects or gratification the user seeks while using them.
Different people take different drugs for different reasons. You understand? So depending on the particular effect the person wants, that will depend on the particular drug the person will take. So I believe that some people take it because they feel it will boost their performance, either from work or for sex or anything.
Some respondents opine that the abuse of drugs usually comes with side effects, some of which are long-lasting, while others manifest at a much later time. They listed the consequences to include insanity, anger issues, dwindling health, addiction, deteriorating mental health, and in some cases, imprisonment.
Everything begins at your little beginning, and that has to do with your parents. What doctrine, what family core values do you have? What Christian understanding or what Christian rock are you standing upon? On what existence were you being brought to life? What was your forefathers doing? And what is your present parents doing? You understand? If it can be tackled from there, I think we'll stand a better chance of not absolutely eradicating it, but reducing it to the barest minimum.
The respondents called on the government to take actions and put the right measures in place to curb this menace. They also called on families to ensure that their wards are brought up with the right morals and principles. For CRBC News Panorama, I am Ifeanyi Ita.
Over now to On the Spot with Kunle Lawal, the Executive Director of Electoral College, Abuja. Welcome to On the Spot on News Panorama. Today we have on the show Mr. Kunle Lawal, the Executive Director, Electoral College, Nigeria. He will be speaking on the place of youth in Nigeria. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kunle Lawal.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And welcome to Cross River State.
Well, it's a state I call home, so of course I'm happy to be here.
Okay, the government had lifted the ban on not too young to run. Since after that development, how well have the youth made good of this opportunity?
Now, looking at the youth making good use of the opportunity, I would say that generally more people that are within the youth bracket have participated in politics and they've tried to break the boundaries. But now, as regards the game of power, you must understand that there's been clearly a dip in youth winning political positions post the election. And this is because in the game of power, when you give a few things free or you reduce the standard for a particular set, they are more docile than those who have to hustle for it.
Okay, so what solution will you prefer to this?
Well, I'm okay with the age drop. What I'm not okay with is would also affect women and youth, which is the dip in price of forms. Now, the dip in price of nomination forms by political parties do not ensure you're going to win the primaries. It just means more people will participate, and that has not changed the game as it is. So, if I'm to propose something, I would say we could just keep the ages down, but we should leave every person participating in politics to participate in politics because they want to participate in politics. I can tell you a lot of people ran just because the forms were cheaper, not because they actually wanted to offer something.
Okay, so now and again, governments have emphasized the need for youths to have skill acquisition in addition to educational qualification. So, as a youth, what do you think is a barrier or challenges limiting the youth from acquiring skills?
Well, the truth is that I must critically say that those ahead of the youth have not provided the avenue for very good mentorship. And because of that, youth in Nigeria have started to think that, they will just follow the irregular paths and get into the system. So what I'm saying is that the generation coming before the youth have not provided a sound focus on what they want them to do. So, and their own actions also do not justify or do not provide that kind of mentorship which the youth will go into and acquire such skills. Like you would say, someone in the youth should learn, let's say, maybe for example, plumbing. But we know how the society, social media, and etc. look at people that plumb, and the government also not providing adequate funds necessary, and Nigerians with a mindset that plumbers are not making money. Do you understand? Put it, a plumber in the UK is a highly regarded profession. So I think our culture, which is our social construct, has already been altered to ensure that people with skills do not mean anything except you have a degree.
Okay, so there seems to be a wide gap between the government and the youth. What do you think of this? And then what do you think should be done for these two groups to synergize?
So when people say there's a wide gap between government and the youth, I don't think that is true. And I'll give an example why. During elections, youths have more access to high-end politicians than the middle class. Because they are used as tools for, snatching ballot boxes, getting into some age brackets, getting into some communities. And even if the politician is playing straight, the youth are the volunteers for a social media base, volunteers to get things done within a community. So they're closer. What I think the youth have not done is that they've not leveraged on the power they have to access these opportunities. So their youth that just wake up and wait for the next 4 years, knowing that this politician will come to town, and when he comes, they try to cash out as much and hope to survive on what they cash out in for the next 4 years.
Okay, do you think that there's enough conscientization, like for the youths in terms of politics? Because we realize that even sometimes when you give this youth the opportunity to rule, it is said that sometimes they mess up on the position given to them.
I'll be clear about one clear fact. If you look at politics across the world, there are two things you're going to find out. Politics is not restricted to age or gender, meaning whether young or old. Bad eggs will be bad eggs. Whether male or female, bad eggs will be bad eggs. But this is not to say that a democracy does not demand inclusion. So the youth that are included, the question really is what are the parameters in which these youths that are included into government are included? So what are the parameters? Probably loyalty to party. Loyalty to party does not translate into good governance. Loyalty to an individual does not translate to good governance. Followership along the way or the path of an older politician does not lead to good governance. So I think those are where the problems lie, and those are the kind of things we're supposed to be looking at to try and look at the quality of the youth that are actually inculcated into governance. Because the truth is, there are a lot of youth doing a lot of work, and those ones are never, ever called into the game of governance. So I think the fault now lies on, the older ones that have the access to pick this youth.
Okay, so how are the public supposed to know or determine which youth is actually coming to be to serve the people, and which is just coming to play and see if he's going to have the opportunity or not?
I have the feeling that Nigeria generally just seems to support the social construct in which the people who are respected are people that have broken the boundaries. Yeah, broken the boundaries, but also people that have broken the boundaries illegally. Because I would say something where you have young people around. Young people want to sit down with themselves, and when they even do, they rate themselves according to who's using the latest iPhone, what's the biggest cars, or who pays for drinks. And anybody that does any of these three controls the conversation, and it's not about whether he's good or he's bad or where that money came from. It is he's the one that seems the one that seems to have more than everybody wants. So if that is our own culture rating, we're not going to be able to produce the kind of people that will work for the youth, because already our construct for choosing who has a voice is already flawed.
Okay, so from what you've said, where do you see the place of youth in politics, like in 5 years' time?
Well, 5 years' time, there are two things I love to say. One, you can't engage a system you don't understand. And secondly, if we've diverted away our thoughts, as let's say youth now, they've diverted their thoughts away from people that actually bring something to the table ideologically, as opposed to those who bring something to the table financially. Then in 5 years, if we continue at this rate, we're going to have far worse than we have now. But if we're able to change that social construct, or we're able to find youth that want people that can actually impact in their lives or translate something, then it's possible we would have a better chance in 5 years. But like sociology, you can never predict human behavior.
Okay, so finally, your words to what words do you have for the youth of Nigeria?
Well, if I'm to say something to them, I would say, if you can understand, and no offense to anybody in the movie industry, if you can understand which movie actor is leaving his wife and has a side chick, you should understand the constitution of Nigeria. Same information which you need on governance, which makes people like myself seem far smart. We're not smart, we just pay attention to the details you aren't paying attention to. So I feel the youth gave more time to paying attention. If they decided to build, not want to just jump from zero. You have quite a lot of young people running for president. Now, this is not saying that that's not possible, but this is saying that you need to put in a lot of work to be able to achieve something in governance or in leadership or at any parameter in entrepreneurship. That zeal not to build is where the big problem lies, which is why we always go for the illegal ways of doing things. But I have a great hope for Nigeria and the future of Nigeria and Cross River State.
Thank you very much, sir. Youths, you've heard from Mr. Kunle Lawal. There is need for all of us to sit up. Don't depend on leadership as anybody that has more money, but look at someone that can impact positively on the economy of the country. I remain Josephine Efanga.
Information reaching us is that indigents of Ogoja local government area have protested the relocation of College of Nursing Science, Ogoja, to Obudu. This action has led to shops and banks being closed down.
That is all we have on our lineup this week. We hope to be back same time next week. I am Josephine Efanga.